This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you drive long haul, short haul, or heavy haul, they're here to empower and inspire women in the trades on tncradio.live. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. We're a show that works to inspire and empower women in trucking, in the trades, and every profession. We tackle all kinds of topics and work to encourage women to be their very best with informative guests and women who've been champions. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Kathy.
No topic is not allowed on our rig. We tackle the tough topics along with the not so tough topics. And we like to feature experts, champions, and celebrities who can assist women in being the very best they can be. We've all heard that water is important for our health. Our bodies are made up of 65% water. We can't survive long without water, typically only 3 days. Some doctors say as much as 75% of people are dehydrated, so we don't get enough water. What does all of this mean to our health? So many women in trucking, the trades, and other professions don't drink enough water. Did you know that a lack of hydration can cause brain fog, fatigue, headaches, weight gain, insomnia, gut, and joint pain? We invited Dr. Dana Cohen, a hydration expert, on our show to tell us about the benefits of water and how to do it right. She studied hydration extensively. Dr. Cohen is an integrative physician who focuses on holistic medicine. She's the co-author of a new book with Gina Bria called Quench. Gina is the head of the Hydration Foundation. Welcome, Dr. Cohen. Thank you so much for being on the show with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am floored by you two already.
Oh, well, thank you.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
We're excited to learn about water. I know that people don't drink enough of it. What is enough, and what does water do for us, actually?
Okay. So let me also take one quick step back, because it's not just about drinking water. Becoming fully hydrated is about the food that we eat as well. And I'm here to say that 8 glasses a day is not necessarily the way. If we're eating better, less processed foods, more whole foods, then that alone is super hydrating. Basically the gist is how do we get more plants in our diet? And some people may need only 1 glass of water. Some people may need 10 glasses of water, and it's very individualized. But hydration, and in fact, so the only about a month ago, a huge NIH study came out, one that has never been done before. They studied 15,000 people, and the study proved that low-grade dehydration, so this is subclinical, meaning this happens to not more, I say 90% or more of people become low-grade dehydrated throughout the day, not even more than 75%.
All right.
So low-grade dehydration decreases lifespan, so it lessens your life, and it increases chronic disease.
Wow.
And they did, it was a huge study. It was, national, worldwide news. And I've been, preaching this for a very long time. So it is, to me, the most important thing you can do before you start any new diet, any new supplement regimen, any new lifestyle. You have to start with hydration. And more often than not, those other things kind of fall into place.
Now, does this have to be water? Because I think a lot of people think, well, I'm drinking pop, I'm drinking juice, I'm drinking milk, so I'm getting enough. Or tea, right? Tea and coffee. Oh, people love their coffee.
Yeah. Okay. I have good and bad news. Let's start with the bad news. The only thing that doesn't count is alcohol. Alcohol in no way is hydrating. There is no silver lining to alcohol. However, coffee, anything less than 4 cups a day has been shown to not be a diuretic. So, coffee can be in addition. Herbal tea, juices, anything else. Pop. Sure, pop is hydrating, but I think I'm so off of it. There's so many other bad things wrong with it, like the sugar and the and the fake sugar. If you're drinking diet soda, that's almost worse to me than regular sugar.
Sure.
So no, it does not have to only be water. And in fact, eating your hydration is a better way to hydrate than drinking more and more water. So now, I'm not saying we don't drink water. We all need to drink some water, but one of the things in the book that we talk about. So this is going to be like lesson number one. If you don't already do this, I can tell you this is life changing for so many of my patients. Try adding a green smoothie to your diet every single day. So what's a green smoothie? It's basically blended greens with water, and then whatever else you want to put in there. If you want to put a little fruit in there for flavor, if you want to put a little lemon and ginger, green apple, when you start to add things like protein powders and nut milks or yogurts, then it becomes more of like a meal. So, but a green smoothie, blended greens with a half a green apple, lemon and ginger is a phenomenal. And this is not science. This is my clinical opinion. It's probably 3 times as hydrating, and then 1 glass of water, on a cellular level. So a green smoothie is a phenomenal way to be hydrated. I'd suggest maybe having a little personal blender in your truck and make a green smoothie every day.
Sure.
It's changed lives, because it's not only that you're getting so many nutrients, you're getting more plants in our diet, which none of us get enough plants, and when I say plants, I mean vegetables, I mean fruits, spices, grains, and nuts. Those are all plants. And now another little sciencey thing. Not that long ago, there was another big study that showed people who eat more than 30 different plants a week have the most diverse gut microbiomes, which is a really good, important thing for us to have. So trying to mix up your fruits and your veggies and all your plants and trying to get more things in, throw in some spices in your smoothie is a great way to do it.
I've never had a green smoothie in my life. It's been on my to-do list I know.
Oh, I love it. Well, you're the kind of person whose life it could change. Like, no, but somebody, and it's funny because I speak to, my peers when I first started talking about the book and I'm recommending green smoothies, and I feel like everybody's eyes are rolling because they're all already into it, So I love when I meet somebody who doesn't do it already. It's such a great thing to do. It really is life changing.
Especially because I don't eat meat either, so it's been on my to-do list to start new habits, and I think that's been on the number one.
I love it. Yeah, play around with there's thousands and thousands of recipes online.
Yeah.
I suggest playing around with it, like mixing it up. There's times where I have to hold my nose and get my smoothie down because I messed it up. I'm like, oh well, but I have fun making it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think some people think, ooh, green smoothie, is that mold?
Yeah.
Ew.
No, so it's greens like spinach or kale, whatever green you choose, Swiss chard, and then whatever else you want to put in there.
Can you just do the green powder, like those greens powder, or
you sure can?
Is it better the real?
I think it's always better the real.
Yeah.
But you can, because you're getting the fiber then. The fiber is also a super important part of hydration. It's what also holds on to that hydration a little bit better. Oh, the other ingredient I forgot to tell you, you could throw a little chia seeds in your smoothie too. That's a really hydrating grain, or I don't even know, seed. Actually, I think chia seeds are legumes. I don't know. And other seeds. What am I talking about?
It's protein, right? Yeah. Yeah. No,
well, they're actually loaded with fats, like healthy fatty acids, and they have a ton of fiber.
Tiny, right? You wonder how is all this stuff in that tiny little green? Because I put it in all my cooking, right? So in my baking, so
they hold 30 times their weight in water. So that water is gonna is the kind of hydration that holds, that sticks in your cells. That little seed. Yeah.
Wow.
So when you give it water, if you've ever made a chia pudding, this is another little. Chia pudding is basically chia seeds. You cover it with some kind of nut milk, like coconut milk or whatever milk, almond milk. You can add some berries to it, or you can add a little sweetener, whatever sweetener you choose, honey, maple syrup, and let it sit overnight. It becomes a pudding. It's a delicious dessert, super hydrating, really good for you, and so easy, so easy. But you'll see those seeds plump up, and it becomes a pudding.
So now, does this help the body absorb better the water that you're taking into the tissues of our body? Or
absolutely, that's exactly what it's doing. So yeah, it holds on to the, and so I'm going to give you an example, and maybe some of your listeners have experienced this. So I'm going to give you a good example of, I have a lot of patients who do like Bikram yoga, which is that hot yoga, and so they sweat a lot, and they're like, I drink so much water. I drink water all day long, and I can't quench my thirst. So they're drinking water, and they're peeing it out, and they're actually peeing out electrolytes too. So you're sweating out electrolytes. You're not replacing those electrolytes with just plain water, and you're peeing out all that electrolytes, and they actually can't quench their thirst, no matter how much water they drink. So you need to do something, and a great way to do that is with vegetables, because you're getting minerals from vegetables. You could do some electrolyte mixes, not every single drink of water that you take, but yeah. So what the green smoothie does is it allows electrolytes that pulls the water better into your cells, and then the fiber from the vegetables also holds on to that water like a sponge, better than if you were just drinking plain water, plain bulk water, because then you just pee it out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
You said we don't have to necessarily drink 8 glasses of water a day. I know I was taught that by my mom, and I do drink my water. Not always throughout the day. Sometimes I kind of bulk up at the end of the day, but
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, so the 8 glasses a day. So think about it. How can you tell, a 5'2" woman who does not exercise that they need to drink the same amount as a 6'4" athlete who sweats all day long? It's extremely individualized.
Sure it is. Yeah.
So 8 glasses may be right for some. It's typically not right for everyone. If you had to twisted my arm and I had to give you a number, a better number is half your weight in ounces. But what I'm about to say is actually really important for your listener. The best way to know that you are hydrated is by how much urine output we have during the day. And you're not going to want to hear this. Your truckers are not going to want to hear this, but we are meant to urinate every 2 or 3 hours during our waking hour. So you really need to be stopping every 2 or 3 hours, stopping, going to pee, for a lot of reasons. Number one, you're getting up and moving every couple of hours, but it's that output that tells me that you're hydrating well enough. There's no better sign or thing to follow than our urine output. So,
I only go twice in 13 hours.
Yeah, I mean, I've sat at my desk.
Increase.
It's a shame because we can teach ourselves, to, especially drivers, we've all done that. Like, oh, I'm going on a big trip. I'm not going to have any liquid. I don't want to have to stop, or even, driven, let's say, Wall Street people, they're driven and they sit at their desk all day long. They don't want to hydrate. They don't want to have to get up and leave their desk. We can train ourselves not to be thirsty. So thirst is not necessarily a great thing to follow, whether or not you're hydrated enough. But it's a problem, and on many levels. I think, and forgive me for saying this, I think there are studies. I haven't researched them out, but I recall them. There are studies that truckers, it's not a healthy profession.
No,
and
no.
First of all, you're sitting all day. You're eating on the road unless you're really preparing for these kind of things. But the other thing is that that hydration aspect. You're forcing yourself not to hydrate well. So
even like myself at my job, if you think about it, I live up here for 2 weeks at a time. I'm sitting in equipment for 13 hours a day, and there's no bathroom, so they're very far and few between. And so the size of the equipment, it's a whole ordeal just to get to a bathroom, right? And business wise, I mean, they count every second, every minute that you're stopping. And so it becomes a thing, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the women I've known, oh my God, over the 10 years, countless women who have end up with kidney infections, right? Or bladder infections. And one girl almost had to go on dialysis because she wasn't, she kept holding her pee, didn't want to go, didn't want to stop, didn't want to get in trouble. Well, yeah, she almost went into renal failure, right?
Wow.
So
Yeah, that is a problem with that job. I mean, my suggestion is that I mean, I haven't researched this and I'm sure you know better. There are like urinary containers for women. There are things that you can do, but I suggest that you stop, you make yourself stop the equipment. And if you have to just sort of get up in your seat and figure out a way to pee, so be it. I will
after
say
10 years, I'm like, I gotta go. I don't care.
yeah,
Period.
but I know they have these devices for long trips,
Sure.
for women. But
men
I
just
think
use milk jugs.
exactly they've got it made. But I want to say something because part of the book that I wrote, and this is also very important, we talk about movement as a hydrating act, and so for another reason to stop, maybe get out of the rig, walk around, squat and pee somewhere, is a better thing because you're getting up and moving. But movement is super important. It's super important for longevity. People who fidget and move live longer. But maybe just stopping for 5 minutes, getting up, peeing, twisting, turning, doing some movements, and then getting back. I think that is a phenomenal. If I could make a few of you really sort of take that on, I'm telling you, your lifespan will change just because of that. So the hydration and the movement are two super important things to really take on, as
I believe that.
Yeah.
I started yoga when COVID hit here because we weren't allowed to the gym. So I just started doing it in my room. Never done yoga before in my life. And definitely still after 2 years, no graceful swan here. I keep tipping over, zero balance, but whatever. But what I mean to say is that the difference I've noticed in myself from simple stretching and drinking more water and listening to my body first and not my mind telling me, oh no, I can wait, saying, no, Kathy, you go now, you take care of you first. Well, that changed everything in how I feel physically and mentally.
I love it. I mean, it is you start physically and mentally. I mean, if joy is everything, happiness is everything, and that comes from being healthy. If you're not healthy, you're not happy. So it's that's the first step, taking care of ourselves. I think it's we have to.
Shelley was saying something about Hydration Foundation that your co-author is president of, or
she's the president, of the Hydration Foundation.
It's interesting because 8 or 9 years ago when I first got this job, I started Operation Hydration.
Oh, I love it.
And it was because I was homeless for 7 days, which doesn't sound like much, but it's a really long time. And I realized during those 7 days of homelessness that people don't have access to water. So when I got this job, it was really, really hot. And I realized, I'm like, oh my God, like it was like 100 degrees. And I'm like, all these homeless people don't have access to water. So I dropped everything I did. I went to the store, I bought 7 cases of water. I got coolers and ice. And I drove around the back alleys and I put a sticker on my car written Operation Hydration, free water. Well, oh my goodness, you should see the lineup of people running for water. They want the ice, they want the ice, the water that's melted. And what I noticed was just that simple act and how much it changed the perspective of people. And now I do that everywhere I go, every city I go to. I have these portable magnets that I put on any rental cars, and I make a point of doing my Operation Hydration, the basics, water.
Oh, Kathy, I have chills all over. That is unbelievable. Like wow, you are just a wealth of stories. I hope to meet you one day in person. You are fascinating to me. Amazing. That is incredible.
Oh, but and it's the gratitude in people's eyes because businesses don't want to give out water to the homeless because then the it's
They
sad to
hang
say,
around
they
and
hang around, they bring
yeah,
their friends, and then it's
yeah.
bad for business and all that crap. So what I do is, I mean, in Vegas of all places, the hottest place on earth, because almost you go there. Well, there's so many homeless people. Well, my daughter and I, she was with me that one time. I said, "Let's go, load up the rental car." And man, we hit Tent City, and it was, yeah, it was one of the most gratifying things I've ever done.
It's
Amazing.
wonderful. Kathy,
Amazing.
that's just terrific. It really is.
Yeah.
You're making a
I'm
lot of
gonna like
difference.
I'm gonna remember that and think about,
Operation
yeah,
Hydration.
I love
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I love it. We're gonna start a movement.
So what's the Hydration Foundation then?
So Gina is president of the Hydration Foundation. She wants to spread the information about hydration. She's done a couple of
Okay.
pilot studies with schools and school children, which was really interesting. They studied how when you let children get up and move and go get water and come right back to their seats instead of telling them to stop fidgeting and to stay quiet, that they do better in school. So
Okay.
that those kind of things, teaching kids where the water fountains are in the school and how to quietly get up and go drink and come
Wow.
right
That's
back.
terrific.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I believe that.
So
yeah.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, is building a positive image of trucking by telling the story of the hardworking drivers and industry professionals who support the industry. And you can be a part of it. Learn more about TMAF and how you can join and be a part of the industry movement working to build a strong image of trucking by visiting TMAF's website at truckingmovesamerica.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our latest channel, TikTok.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Dr. Dina, how do you know you're dehydrated? What are some of the signs before it gets way out of hand?
So the typical ones that we all know about are, constipation, headache, even migraines, dry skin, fatigue. So I like that it is an example because I'm here to say that I really believe that most of that afternoon slump that many of us feel or find is probably more related to dehydration than it is to our blood sugar dropping. Or we're being hungry, because more often we mistake hunger for thirst for hunger.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, thirst for hunger. And so more often we're thirsty rather than hungry. And so fatigue, brain fog, that's another one. Brain fog is a big one. Cognition. So we that's kind of the first thing to go too. When we're only even 2% dehydrated, we start to have a little cognitive decline. And then the big one that I told you is that if we're not urinating every 2 to 3 hours, we're not hydrated. So that's that every 2 or 3 hours while we're awake, by the way, because when we sleep we make a hormone that stops us, called antidiuretic hormone, that stops us from peeing overnight.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. Okay.
yeah, yeah. And then and like I said, and so you mentioned the UTIs, the chronic UTIs. That's definitely one, and every woman knows how do you prevent urinary tract infections. You have to hydrate better, but it actually puts you at risk for kidney cancer.
Oh,
It also
my.
puts you at risk for colon cancer. So all of those where you're sitting, you're holding onto your urine, or you're not, you're constipated, those kind of things put you at risk for those, and that's proven, those kind of cancers. So this low grade dehydration. And I want to just also differentiate. We're talking about um, day in and day out dehydration, not overt dehydration where you need to go to the hospital and get IVs, or you've been vomiting all day or had diarrhea all day. This is different. This is that day in, day out dehydration that we all experience often throughout the day. So my job is here to tell you that it's the one thing I'm a stickler on, meaning if I put somebody on a diet or some kind of nutrition plan, I'm really happy with that 80-20 rule. Give me 80% and I'm happy. But with hydration, you have to be on it day in and day out. You can't forget. And the good news is you do it one day, and I'll give you a couple of rules to follow. You do it one day and you will absolutely, and it's easy. Like, it's not like something you have to do 3 months and like, oh, now I feel the effects of it. You'll notice it in one day. It's very quick, so um so we talked about a green smoothie a day. That's rule number one. Try to incorporate a green smoothie a day. Try to incorporate more vegetables into your diet and mix up your vegetables. But the other thing, somebody said they don't always drink all their water at once or throughout the day. Well, good news is that desert people don't do that. They front load their water. True desert wanderers, they sort of soak. We call it front loading their water. So first thing in the morning, a big glass of water, 8 to 16 ounces. I tell people to put a little squeeze of a lemon in there, and a little pinch of salt. A real salt, though, not just like Morton's table salt. You want like a good full spectrum salt, like pink salt or sea salt, or real salt is a brand of rock salt.
Okay.
So a little pinch of salt that gets those extra electrolytes and minerals in there, and chug that down first thing in the morning. That's another thing that can be life changing for people who don't already do that. So front load your water. And then movement is a big part of it. So before your feet even hit the floor, move every joint. And we have a section in the book called micro movements. But it's we made them up. It's like literally, twisting and turning and shrugging your shoulders, trying to move every joint in your body and twisting and before your feet even hit the ground. And that's not exercise. That's just movements and stretching, and really important for us to do, and especially as we get older, and especially if we're sitting all day long.
I found it interesting that I was reading in your book that certain medications can cause clinical dehydration. I don't know if people are aware of that.
Overt dehydration. And I'm not even talking about the ones that are that we know, like diuretics or certain blood pressure medications that we know specifically pull hydration out of you. Okay. I'm talking about very simple everyday medications like aspirin and the purple pill, Prilosec, and some sleeping pills. In fact, there was I think we referenced it in the book. There was a list of like hundreds and hundreds of medications reported to the FDA that caused people overt dehydration in the emergency room. So let alone medications take fluid and hydration to metabolize, to detoxify. We have to be, in order for our bodies to detoxify, we need hydration, because we detoxify peeing, pooping, sweating, and breathing. Those are the only ways we detoxify, and all of them require hydration. So when we're taking a lot of medications, you have to hydrate better. The other thing is processed foods. Our body takes a lot of work and a lot of hydration to process processed foods. Also our environments. Sitting in a truck, if you're sitting in the air-conditioned truck or even the heat truck and no windows are open, or you're in a desert somewhere, not a very hydrating environment.
Same with an air-conditioned office too.
Totally. We live in desert surroundings in our offices. I live in New York City, and our radiator heat it's worse. People think that summer's more dehydrating than winter, and it's not in my apartment, because those radiator heat sucks every bit of moisture out of the air.
Yeah, it really does. You have to run a humidifier.
Yeah. Highly recommend a humidifier.
What about age?
Well, so we lose muscle mass.
Because I just found. Oh, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say it's because my mother. I find even working when I was nursing in say like extended cares or assisted living places, as people age, they don't drink as much, but I find the level of cognitive abilities declines, and I was wondering, is it because of water? Is it because of lack of water? My mother, she gets that brain fog you were talking about, and, she's constipated, and she's very tired all the time, and I'm like, Mom, how much water do you drink? She says, well, I don't. I'm like,
yeah.
So is that a common thing? Yeah,
completely a common thing. And I think what this study showed is that better hydrated people live longer and have less chronic disease. So, but with age, there's a couple, you have to think of a couple things, and especially as a nurse, you might know this too. Number one, they're afraid to ask. They don't want to bother anybody to, to help them get their drink, or it hurts for them to go get their fluid. They also don't want to have to get up and pee because it's hard on them. So there's a lot of reasons.
Right.
But we have
Sure.
to do better with our elderly people. I think do think that in the long run, the hydration is far more better for them than them not getting up to, in every way. They move, they they think better, they think clearer. Yeah, aging is a very special. We actually have a section in the book on aging, a small section,
Okay.
on how to do it better.
I gotta get that book.
Absolutely. So do women require more water because we have more fat tissue than men?
Once again, I don't think they've never done any kind of study to show that. Everybody's individualized. So I don't know, maybe on a pound for pound, maybe they do require more, but I don't think there's ever been any, anything about that. But I will say, I think what women are more prone, I think most women are living sort of not in their bodies. We're cut off from the neck down, and we don't pay attention to the signs in our bodies of how we feel and how we, we're also caretakers. We take care of everybody else. So I think that's what comes to my mind to think about. And this is what I'm telling people is simple. This is not a hard thing to do. It's not a hard message. It may be a little harder for you truckers, because I'm asking you to do something, but give me 5 minutes every 2 or 3 hours, get up, walk around, move, squat, go pee,
Sure.
and if you're doing that every 2 or 3 hours, I'm telling you, your life is going to change. You're going to feel so much better, and you're going to be so much better in the long run. The other thing that this low-grade dehydration that puts you at risk for is diabetes and Alzheimer's disease. So I keep that in mind too.
Really?
That's yeah.
I read in your book summary that was one of the risk factors, which I found very interesting. It does seem that there are a lot more people developing dementia and Alzheimer's overall.
Yeah.
So
I have something I want to kind of throw out there. Last year, my mom and I we were walking downtown in my little town that we live in, and there's a shop, like a crystal shop, and they got stones and rocks and all this stuff. And so we go in there, and the lady started talking to us about water. And she says, well, did you know that there's hidden messages in water? I'm like, what? And so then she gives me this book. I know this is going to sound out there, but she
No,
gives
it's
me this
not.
book. And well, yeah, until I started reading the book, right?
Yeah.
So she was mentioning that how oh God, I'm gonna say this wrong, but you put so we bought a special, like just a glass jar or jug, and inside the jug is like a dipstick, but inside the dipstick is all these rocks, these crystals, right? You can pick like we had emeralds and whatever.
Yeah.
And it's she said if you put words, like words that you want, powerful words, like say I got stickers of the word love, joy, health, happiness, harmony, balance, all that, and I put that on the jug, the water that you drink, it almost changes form. And then in the book, it was something about the structural, oh God, I can't really remember, where they were doing studies on how the water almost crystallized or turned into snowflakes or something like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I know exactly. I always get asked this question. So it's based on the work of a Japanese researcher, Dr. Emoto.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very interesting. I will say, from the science standpoint, I don't have a lot to add to it because I don't really know. But his studies were very interesting. He basically would say, like, for example, to the water, like, I love you, and take pictures, and the crystals were beautiful and formed and arranged. And then when he would put hateful words in there, the crystals were not so. The one thing I can say is that I believe that there are some interesting studies going on, even at Harvard, about water holding memory. So the water that's deep down in the earth has a different property than the water that's higher above. And when you take that water out, it holds on to that property. So there's some things to it. It turns out, and when I first started writing this book, I was like, oh, we're going to write this book on hydration. It's going to be easy. And it turns out that H2O is probably one of the most complex molecules in the world. And I had no idea. And when I started to write the book, I was like, oh my God, Gina, what did we get ourselves into? I'm not a water researcher. This is unbelievable how complex this is. And we figured it out. We wrote what we did, and I'm super proud of it, and it's super helpful from a health standpoint. But from the molecular standpoint of water, it's incredibly complex, and many scientists don't agree, and some do. But it's interesting. I do think that water is energy.
Yeah.
We're all energetic beings, and I do think that energy we hold on to energy, and I think water does too. So there's something to it, but I don't. I'm not an expert, and I don't think it's quite ready for prime time in a medical, in the medical or science world.
Sure. Well, when you think about it, water is really the foundation of life. We float around in amniotic fluid in the uterus.
Yeah,
it's fluid.
Water is life. Mini. I'm not going to remember now. It's a Lakota saying. Oh gosh, it's on the first chapter of my book. So yeah, water is life, and you have to be, like I said, before you do any new diet or something, start with hydration.
Yeah.
And you will be shocked and surprised at how easy whatever the next steps that you take go from there.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Kathy DeCaro is nothing short of amazing. She not only drives the world's biggest truck as a heavy equipment operator in northern Alberta, Canada. She's an international motivational speaker and the author of Dream Big, an autobiography about overcoming a lifetime of trauma and abuse that led to dreams of success. Kathy inspires people the world over to change their lives and improve their self-worth. Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com. Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry, our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy DeCaro.
I was seeing you recommend drinking water before meals to help you lose weight.
So, so number one, it's a good habit to get into. Like, that's a sort of a rule. Have a glass of water before every meal. This way, you're getting some hydration in throughout the day, even if you're not drinking anything else throughout the day. But the other thing is there was a couple of studies that show people who were dieting lost more weight when they drank a glass of water before every meal than people who weren't. And we don't really know why, but I think it's probably that hunger thing. We're often more thirsty than hungry, and you maybe eat less.
Right.
You digest better, you're metabolizing better, all of those reasons.
What is your opinion on bottled water?
Well, I think that we need bottled water still. I wish we didn't, but we do. I'm not going to go to a hotel and drink tap water from the hotel. So there are reasons and places that we need bottled water. I wish, obviously the climate and the problem with the plastic is a problem for sure. Yeah. So if you could carry, big reusable things in your truck, like even maybe get a huge container that holds your water with a spout on it and find a place in your truck for it, that's fantastic, and fill it wherever you can fill it. So I mean, bottled water is tricky because I still think we there is a place for it. We need it. I do think that we abuse it, and meaning if we have to try to do better is what I'm saying. And this is purely from an environmental standpoint.
Sure.
Yeah.
I have heard distilled water. Not that people actually drink that, but sometimes they might. I've heard that is actually bad for you because it drains the minerals out of your body.
Right. So distilled water has nothing in it. There's no electrolytes. There's no minerals. So you might want to distilled water is fine to drink. If you're in a bind and there's nothing. You have a few glasses here and there. But if that's all you're drinking, then you probably need to put a few like mineral drops in it, electrolyte replacement in some of those glasses of distilled water. The other thing about bottled water too is that you should check your tap water. We had a huge problem with the people in Flint, Michigan, where their water was poisoned, literally with lead, and there are children who still have, permanent damage from it. So there are ways to check what's in your tap water.
How do you do that?
So there's a great website called the EWG.org, the Environmental Working Group.org, and you can search in the United States. I don't know if it's in Canada. I think it might be, but I'm not sure. You could search where you live, and it will tell you how good your drinking water is. And so, if your drinking water is bad, then you might have to drink tap water. I mean, bottled water, or you might have to filter your water. And you could also, the nice thing about that website too is that you could also, they have a list of filters that based on what you can afford, how much you could spend on a filter and how good they are. But they give a really nice list of water filters that are based on your budget.
Good to know. I see in your book you have a 5-day jumpstart plan to hydration.
Yeah, it's very simple. So, the things that we already talked about, a big glass of water in the morning, a smoothie a day, some micro movements. We spell it all out for you. The truth is you could do one day and start to notice a difference. We figured we do a 5-day, and we give a few ideas of really nice, healthy meal planning around those 5 days also. But 5 days, I figured you could do it, a Monday through Friday during the work week. And just, it's just really simple, spelled out for you with some ideas for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, some herbal teas before bed, some micro movements. And it's just a really nice, simple plan that, you'll notice a difference in a day or two, even just starting it.
I think people decades ago drank more water than they do today. Because I believe that the hydration emphasis that my mother had when I was growing up, she must have learned that from her mother.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know, because I think about all I see are people carrying bottles, of water in the streets and stuff now.
Sure.
Like we never had that before. Everybody's got some kind of liquid in their hand. But if it's just water, they may not be hydrating properly. You could drink so much water and still not feel quenched because you're not doing it right. Meaning you need some either electrolytes or food-based food that's very hydrating, eating better, that kind of thing.
Yeah. What do you think of Pedialyte, Gatorade, that sort of thing?
Gatorade, I don't love. There's a ton of what's the word I'm looking for? Color, fake coloring and all that stuff in there. There's a ton of sugar in it. I'm not a huge fan of Gatorade. Pedialyte, I mean, if you're sick and you need Pedialyte to replenish, then it's fine. For athletes and stuff like that, we have a do-it-yourself sports drink in there, which is basically like, a little electrolytes with a little either maple syrup or honey, but it's so easy to do it yourself. And then there's better ones now that don't have all the fake, coloring and stuff in there, sugars, and there's a ton of them out there. But I don't particularly love the Gatorade.
Your insight is really, I think, refreshing for a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people realize how important water truly is to their health and the role that it plays in our longevity, the way we look, the way we feel, all of the above.
Yeah, it's and I want to just change that sentence to it's not water, it's hydration.
Right?
So however you get it done, ideally with food.
Watermelon, lots of watermelon.
Watermelon is, yeah, we all know that.
And celery, doesn't celery contain mostly water?
Celery, yes. Celery, think about cucumbers, cucumbers. I love, I was just going to say this. So people always applaud when I say this because, we've always been told that iceberg lettuce doesn't have a whole lot of nutritional value, right? Well, I'm here to tell you it is probably one of the most hydrating things. So that alone makes it hugely valuable, because there's so much better lettuces now that have so much more, bang for their nutritional value. But iceberg lettuce is great because it's loaded with water, with hydration.
Now, is there a quick test people can do to tell if they're dehydrated?
There's I used to rely on this a lot more, and I think over the years now I'm coming to say that it's not so great. But you could look at the color of your urine. There's a couple caveats. If you take a B vitamin, it automatically is like neon yellow, so it doesn't count. But if your urine looks very concentrated, it's very, dark yellow, almost brown, then you're not hydrated enough. If it's crystal clear, like white, nothing in it, you might be overhydrated, which is actually a thing, by the way. And I'll talk to you about that. Yes, it's a problem. But so you could look at the color of urine. I think the more important thing that you can do is, number one, think about your symptoms. So your afternoon fatigue, your brain fog, are you peeing every 2 or 3 hours? Those are better signs and symptoms, to look at. If you're thirsty, you're a little bit too far gone. You want to try to stave off that thirst before it even happens.
Right. So, I've heard that.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other signs? You could maybe, if you pinch the top of your hand and it tense up, TENTS, and it doesn't pop right back down, could be that's a soft sign of dehydration. Dry skin, dry lips, all of those, dry mucous membranes, any of that kind of stuff, are signs and symptoms. But there's no simple test or simple measure, unfortunately. Yeah.
Prevention is probably the best.
Prevention is everything. Yeah, just stay on top of your hydration. The other stuff will follow, and you have more room for. I'm somebody who's I've been a physician in integrative medicine for 25 years, and I used to work for Dr. Atkins. I have prescribed many Atkins diets, and what I've learned is that it doesn't work. None of it works. Diets don't work. They don't work long term. They work short term. It is extraordinarily rare that somebody makes it a lifelong commitment and keeps it off. Yeah. And it's going back to basics. We need to eat well. We need to drink well. We need to sleep well, and we need to move, and we need to breathe. True. Those are the. It all goes back to the basics. And the truth is, nobody does it right. And we have to push ourselves to do those things a little bit better. And I would very strongly say, start with hydration. You'll get the ball rolling in the right direction, and the other things will follow.
Where do people find your book? I love the title, by the way, Quench. It's great.
Thank you. Amazon, anywhere, Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, anywhere books are sold. I think maybe even on my website, which will lead you to Amazon.
And what is your website?
Oh, it's www.drdanacohen.com. So drdanacohen.com, COHEN.
Excellent. I really appreciate your insight here. All women can benefit no matter what vocation they're in with this knowledge. And who doesn't want more energy to feel better? And heck, you'll look better, right? You're going to be hydrated.
We have
less wrinkles, right?
We have a whole section on beauty and hydration. And the truth is, estheticians are our biggest. I have a cult following of estheticians because they know better than anybody that you can slather stuff on top. It doesn't matter. It comes from within.
Yep, it
so
does.
You have to start there. Yes, absolutely. Beauty is key.
And I need to hydrate that core.
Mm-hmm.
This has been absolutely awesome.
Yes, I appreciate you being on the show, Dr. Dana. This has been terrific.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really wonderful. It's such a pleasure to meet both of you too. I hope we meet in person someday.
That would be terrific.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, I would love that.
This has been an absolute pleasure.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors. with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at info@tncradio.live.
Thank you for listening to another great interview on tncradio.live. And don't forget, be sure to subscribe to our podcast of Women Road Warriors. It's free. All of the material you hear on tncradio.live, on our website, our broadcasts, or our podcasts are copyrighted. There can be no distribution without the express consent of tncradio.live and its partners. For inquiries, write us at info@tncradio.live.